Part 103. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1024. The Asta Empire has been affected by wars several times. This empire is now ruled by Asto, the only female emperor in history. But there is a queen, but there is no peaceful scene in the empire due to the leadership of a female figure. Instead, it is more chaotic, with killings and wars everywhere. Even if the empire's own army does not command areas, there are still many. In this area, a small aircraft flies in the universe. Alas, the energy of this aircraft is almost exhausted. Jia Yan was sitting in this aircraft, and then sadly looked at the fuel in the aircraft, which was almost gone. After he traveled to so many places in the universe, Jia Yan found that he had ridden the fastest aircraft, including the fastest aircraft, so it was a pity that Jia Yan would soon have no energy for it. Brothers, that aircraft looks very advanced. Come on, grab it. Just when Jia Yan was feeling regretful, he saw a shadow flash across the space. Several tattered warships followed the shadow and rushed towards Jia Yan's aircraft. Jia Yan's expression froze. He had long discovered that there were several heaven-level monsters in this area. He originally thought that the venerable level brainwave power that he exuded faintly could make them afraid to approach, but he did not expect these guys dared to come and provoke me even if they didn't care about their lives. Humph, if you want to die, I will make it happen for you. Jia Yan's expression turned cold. Not long after, several tattered warships truly became tatters, and they were still lifeless rags floating in the universe. Tell me, how is your Asta Empire doing now? Next to Jia Yan's fast aircraft, a heaven-level monster was captured. Jia Yan looked at the opponent and saw that there seemed to be some shadow of the former Emperor Asta. He immediately understood that the opponent should be the original Asta. Toady people. Asta Empire? Where is the Asta Empire now? We don't recognize that queen. The monster drank coldly. It could be seen that even if the opponent turned into a bandit, there were still some shadows of soldiers. Okay, I respect you. Jia Yan knew that he couldn't get anything out of his question, and then he used a brainwave power, and the other party became a floating corpse in the universe, just like his brothers. In fact, these heaven-level experts are still very powerful. Jia Yan's brainwave power is about that of a venerable, but he is also very weak in the venerable level. If someone is not careful, he will think that he is at the peak of the heaven level. This group of monsters misjudged and thought that a few heaven-level monsters could pose a threat to Jia Yan, so they attacked. It seems that the Asta Empire is really in chaos. How is the long-lost queen doing now? Jia Yan sighed deeply. He had had deep contact with two so-called queens. One was from the Asta Empire, and the other was from the Northern Star Territory. But they were both women, and both similar to the people on Earth. The circumstances of the two sides are different, and their abilities are also very different. The current is probably able to govern Taya Kingdom well, but Queen Asta is far behind, and maybe she is just a puppet now. However, Jia Yan had no idea of helping this woman, and the relationship between the two parties was not deep. It seems that I need to find a force to ask. Otherwise, running around like a headless fly, I will definitely not be able to get effective information. Jia Yan is not worried. He still has more time now. After all, Ka has no defense line, so there seems to be no problem for the time being. The aircraft took off, and not long after, it was outside a faction. You are so brave. You think that because you are a venerable, you can threaten us. Opposite the communicator, a terrifying tall monster spoke wildly to Jia Yan. Really? Since the peace talks cannot proceed, then I will call in. Jia Yan looked at the other party lightly. Now the energy of the clone has the possibility of help from the real body, so he is no longer afraid of energy matters. Although he doesn't want to fight, when he has to fight, there is no other way. Boom. when that force's entire planet was in chaos. The monster who was just opposite the communicator was already in front of Jia Yan, but now he did not dare to make any move at all. "Sir, please spare my life. I realize my mistake. Please spare my life." That huge monster was probably at the peak of heaven-level strength. No wonder he dared to resist Jia Yan. Okay, I just want to ask, do you know where the biochemical empire's black hole is now? Jia Yan asked calmly. That's what you're asking. The huge monster almost spit out a mouthful of blood. You must know that this kind of information has nothing to do with his power itself. Now that it is better, if he had made it clear to the other party before, the defenses of his power base would not have been completely destroyed in an instant. That's right, just ask this. If you know, just tell me. Jia Yan nodded. Sir, in the Great War that year, the Earth Messenger General, the Biochemical Empire General, Earth Messenger, sir. The other party was about to introduce the past, but when he mentioned the terrifying Earth Messenger, the more he looked at Jia Yan, the more familiar he looked, and then his eyes widened, as if he had seen a ghost. He recognized Jia Yan. Yeah. Keep talking. Jia Yan nodded, acknowledging his identity. The other party swallowed his saliva. You must know that after he understood Jia Yan's identity, he understood that the other party clearly looked like an ordinary venerable, but why was he so powerful? Because he was the one who could overwhelm Jia Yan by himself that day. In the Rulan Empire, and in the Asta Empire, there was an Earth Messenger who turned the tide and wiped out most of the army of the Biochemical Empire. His strength was not comparable to the so-called venerable level in the Asta Empire. It's the difference between heaven and earth. After you defeated most of the strength of the Biochemical Empire, our empire slowly regained its territory. But even now, it has not completely surrendered to the leadership of Her Majesty the Queen. The black hole left by the Biochemical Empire has been occupied by several companies. The forces have taken it into their hands and used it as their biggest weapon, preparing to fight against the government forces. Oh. Which factions are they? Jia Yan was startled for a moment, and then he understood after thinking about it that this black hole was a big killer. If there were any forces or a self-proclaimed royal family who wanted to support themselves with troops, it is most convenient to use this kind of thing. After all, the current royal family is not very powerful. They are the Little Prince forces in the west, the partial division forces in the east, and several major warlords, but on the surface there are only 3 royal families. After listening to the monster's words, Jia Yan nodded, stopped talking, and flew directly into space. Well, it's over. I would have said it directly, my poor power. Looking at the mess around him, the peak monster at that level almost cried without tears. Of course, Jia Yan ignored him and returned to the aircraft, then input the nearest Eastern Branch force and directly entered the ultra-long-distance voyage. And the news about this terrifying Lord Earth Messenger appearing in the Asta Empire was almost like a whirlwind, sweeping across the entire Asta Empire. Of course, the ordinary people only remember Jia Yan's previous performance in the Asta Empire, but the upper class is different. What? The Earth Messenger has appeared again? Oh my God. You don't know that the news I just received, his actual name is Lord Jia Yan. If you can see the alien media now, even then the great imperial media, which our empire can never match, will know how terrifying Lord Jia Yan is now. He is called the top being by the great empire, as powerful as the 2 remaining super venerable beings in the great empire. Even because of his existence, the great empire calls the small earth a civilization on the same level as the great empire. Now the whole Orion arm is going crazy. Master Jia Yan actually appeared in our Asta Empire. Whichever side he leans towards, that side will firmly become the orthodoxy. Even if he wants to recruit a passerby to become the emperor of the empire, it is an extremely simple matter. Oh my God. It turns out that this Earth Messenger is actually so terrifying. The current high-level officials of various forces in the Asta Empire were extremely afraid of Jia Yan when they heard about Jia Yan's appearance, especially those who knew about his current reputation. Almost instantly, Jia Yan's images and information were transmitted among the entire Empire's forces through a special extremely fast method. It's okay to fight and kill at home, but if you offend this heaven-defying existence, the entire Asta Empire will be destroyed in an instant. Jia Yan even has the ability to make the Asta Empire a territory for people on Earth. Of course, the people on Earth are not very technologically powerful and their population is not large. If they rule the Asta Empire, it is impossible to get real benefits at all, and there will be more disadvantages. This is why Jia Yan did not do this. Quickly, if Lord Jia Yan appears, we must treat him well. Even if he wants something, he must give it well. Otherwise, our Asta Empire will not kill him ourselves, but this powerful man, the whole empire will be burned to the ground with his terrifying wrath. Almost every force was shocked and frightened by Jia Yan's appearance. Jia Yan also connected to the internet and saw the overwhelming news about himself, and then he smiled indifferently. You must know that his reputation has spread throughout the entire Orion arm. Marginal empires like the Asta Empire are still in chaos, so there is no news about him until now. If it were placed in other empires, he had just when he showed up, people recognized him. Of course, Jia Yan doesn't care. With a bigger name, it will be easier to do things. Finally, after several days of long flight, Jia Yan arrived at the partial force east of the Asta Empire. Well, welcome to Mr. Jia Yan. When they saw Jia Yan's arrival, the heavily guarded gate of the partial division force hardly dared to make any obstruction and directly let him go. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1025. The current situation of the Asta Empire is not very good on every planet, but the headquarters of the partial division forces is very good. The commercial atmosphere on the headquarters planet is extremely strong. But today is different. When it was learned that Lord Jia Yan, who was extremely famous on the internet and in the media recently, had actually come to this planet, the entire planet fell into panic and turmoil. You must know that Mr. Jia Yan was the Earth's envoy who originally came to the Asta Empire and the Rulan Empire. Back then, he was unhappy because a fleet of the Rulan Empire attacked the Earth civilization. He later made it clear, the other party came to the Asta Empire for compensation. Now the other party is here again, and if they disagree, they might do something to the Asta Empire again, so the headquarters planet seems extremely panicked. The other party is so powerful that no one in the entire planet can resist it. Master Jia Yan, please come this way. The monster who led Jia Yan was so nervous that he was afraid of saying anything wrong. Good. Jia Yan nodded while looking at the scene of the city below the star. He doesn't have much hostility towards the Asta Empire now. After all, the metal monsters that attacked the Earth before were just the personal actions of Oro from the Asta Empire. The Asta Empire itself did not even know the existence of the Earth civilization, and the fleet that later attacked the Earth did not gain any advantage. So his mentality is very good. Moreover, most of the creatures in the entire Asta Empire are very similar to the people on Earth. This is considered close to Jia Yan. If he really wants to kill, he will be a little more restrained. Following the man who led him on the flight, he walked all the way, and under the countless frightened eyes below, he came to a building 2 to 3 kilometers away. Lord Jia Yan, please. The other party gestured respectfully to Jia Yan. After Jia Yan entered the building with him, he was led into a huge room. Welcome to Your Excellency Jia Yan. I am the temporary regent of this partial force. A man with a golden sword and a broad horse was sitting on a side chair, looking very happy for Jia Yan's arrival. There are ordinary Asta creatures around, but among them, there seem to be a few powerful masters who are obviously not Asta creatures. These powerful men are the foreign aid of this partial division force. To put it clearly, they are the representatives of external empires or forces that support this partial division force. Of course, in front of Jia Yan, no matter what empire or force, they must lower their arrogant heads, even big empires. Master Jia Yan, please take a seat. The man spoke respectfully to Jia Yan. His smile is not fake. When other people saw Jia Yan coming, they felt a great sense of crisis, but he was different. When Jia Yan came to their power, even if he just came in to drink tea, he was able to borrow a little bit of the power of this terrifying powerhouse. When other forces heard the rumors, wouldn't they immediately surrender to his partial division force? Therefore, he is extremely respectful to Jia Yan. If he gets even a few words from Jia Yan to support him, then he will be great. Jia Yan didn't have any excuses. It's normal for a terrifying and powerful person to be respected by others. When you come to the banquet and sit down, everyone on one side dares to sit down. Thank you for your welcome. I won't say much more. To make a long story short, I want the man-made black hole in your power. Tell me what conditions are required. Jia Yan looked at the powerful and high-level people around him, and then said calmly. What? Your Majesty wants our man-made black hole. This is a weapon we use to threaten government forces. We can't give it to you. A heavenly being shouted out immediately. Jia Yan frowned slightly, but before he could say anything, a venerable Asta man on the other side gritted his teeth at this moment, and then blasted out with brainwave power. Boom! The man was blasted into the air by the venerable level, and then landed on the ground. He was almost out of breath and almost died. Asshole, Your Excellency Jia Yan must have an important role in saying that the black hole is needed. Maybe it's all because I have no defense line. Can we say no to such a big thing? If you dare to doubt Your Excellency Jia Yan again, be careful, I will do it next time your life is at stake. The man shouted coldly at the existence on the ground, and then respectfully hugged Jia Yan. Your Excellency Jia Yan, he bumped into you. I apologize to you on behalf of our forces. This man's reaction speed is really fast. Jia Yan's face looked slightly better. If there was such a wise person among the strong men on the other side, the subsequent conversation would surely go more smoothly. Fortunately, the other party was indeed sensible. When Jia Yan talked with them, they did not make any demands or anything, but only vaguely revealed that they needed Jia Yan to support them. Okay, seeing that you are so dedicated to Kaowu's defense, then I will give you an affirmation. Finally, Jia Yan signed several small contracts on the transfer of the artificial black hole, and then nodded with satisfaction. This partial force is too sensible, so sensible that if Jia Yan doesn't give them something, he will feel that he is going too far. The other party has been revealing some kind of news in their conversation, and Jia Yan also knows it, so now he wants to give the other party some sweetness. I understand very well what these partial forces want. Since I want to give them benefits, I can only sell it to Her Majesty the Queen. Once Jia Yan shook his head. What you want is nothing more than my promise to support your forces. You have this so-called regent here. But if you know about the Orthodox government, you should also understand that I implicitly support it. I can't go back on it. Now I make a decision, you will officially separate from the Osto Empire from today, and establish a new country in this eastern land. Within 50 years, the Osto Empire cannot attack you. This treaty is the best I can think of. How? Jia Yan's words made all the senior executives stunned for a moment, and then they were overjoyed. Okay, sir, we will officially break away from the Osta Empire. However, we have a merciless request. That is, our land is not large compared to our population. If we cannot be protected by a big country, the future will be very difficult, so we want to merge into the Earth Alliance, or we can do it in the name of a subordinate country. With the protection of the Earth Alliance, we can also transfer technology and knowledge to the Earth civilization. I don't know what you think, sir. This. Jia Yan did not expect that the other party actually wanted to merge with the Earth. But what he doesn't understand is that the Earth civilization is almost hot in the arms of Orion now. A civilization recognized by a big empire. What's more important is that it is just a primary civilization, but it has a person who can threaten the top powerhouses of the great empire. Such a civilization are all thinking about how to cooperate with the Earth. After all, as long as Jia Yan remains alive, the future rise of the Earth is certain. Those who become friends with the Earth during this process will definitely make a lot of money. The middle-aged man who spoke thought more thoroughly. He was about to fall completely to the earth at the same time that Jia Yan asked them to build a country. Jia Yan pondered for a while and then said, "Our civilization on Earth is a single-race civilization. Although you, the Asta clan, are very similar to us people on Earth, and there are even recent reports on Earth that there are examples of children being able to combine and give birth to children. After all, you are still different races, so you are merged into. I can't do that on Earth. If you are willing, you can become a subordinate country of my empire. As for the terms and obligations of subordinate countries, I won't think too much about it. Next, you can negotiate with people related to my Earth." Okay. The subordinate countries are better. After hearing Jia Yan's words, the man hardly hesitated at all. He nodded like a chicken pecking at rice, and his face blossomed with a smile. You must know that becoming a civilized country of the Earth is equivalent to having the protection of the Earth, and this means that even if the Asta Empire comes back to its senses and wants to attack them, it will use a virulent weapon. Lord Jia Yan, I just thought about it. Our newly established country will be called the Earth's Eternal Kingdom. I don't know how you feel about this name. Jia Yan was stunned. The Earth will always belong to the country. This flattery must be too harsh. But this kind of flattery was so comfortable that Jia Yan nodded without thinking too much. Okay, you can name whatever you think of. Now that we've said these things, take me to see the man-made black hole. Okay, sir, please come this way. When a group of senior executives led Jia Yan to the man-made black hole, a senior executive who quietly got up and left during the meeting announced such earth-shattering news to the entire partial force. We are fortunate enough to have the favor of Lord Jia Yan, the top and strongest man in the Orion arm, and he approved to become a vassal state of Lord Jia Yan's civilization, Earth civilization. At the same time, he also specially approved the name of our new country. The Earth will always be a vassal state. On this day of celebrating the founding of our country, the Earth is eternal. Mr. Jia Yan has spared no effort and is still busy with the defense line of Kau on the edge of Orion. We would like to first express our gratitude to Mr. Jia Yan, and then we as a nation are celebrating. Time. Citizens, celebrate, our eternal kingdom of the Earth has been established. Earth's eternal kingdom is established. The partial force has actually been recognized by the supreme strongman who can be counted on the fingers of the entire Orion arm, and can it establish an independent country? And it has become a vassal state of the Earth civilization. Although the Earth civilization now seems to be just a small primary civilization, with the terrifying existence of Master Jia Yan, this is destined to be a civilization that will be developed. Being able to become a vassal state of this civilization is equivalent to establishing a country with the support of this civilization. Which empire or force will dare to attack in the future? Becoming a vassal country of the Earth civilization is a real profit. Haha, from now on we are no longer people of the Asta Empire, we are people of the Earth's eternal kingdom. Yes, the Asta Empire is like a yellow flower of the past and has long since declined. Forming a new country on our own and joining the big family of Earth civilization is what we need. Their civil war has nothing to do with our earthly civilization, eternal kingdom. Now we no longer have to worry about dying in the war. The people of Asta, the eternal kingdom of Earth civilization, were almost crazy with joy. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1026. The news that the partial forces were spreading to the east of the Asta Empire was a shock to the Asta Empire itself. Especially those in the Asta Imperial Palace stood up almost immediately and said they were paying close attention to this matter. After all, the other party said that their supporter is Jia Yan, who is very popular in the entire Orion arm recently. They dare not openly say that this statement is illegal, otherwise if it is verified that it is really what Jia Yan said, they're out of luck. Did he do it? In the palace, the queen, who rarely paid attention to the news, actually carefully read the statement issued by this partial force. But her focus is not on whether the partial force is splitting away from their empire, but on paying attention to the Earth messenger at this moment. It would be great if there was a chance to meet again, the woman thought calmly, but then she smiled bitterly. Jia Yan didn't even look for her, so she understood that she was not in the eyes of the other party at all. Now that she came to the Asta Empire, she didn't think of coming to her to reminisce about the past. It was obvious that in the eyes of the other party, she was nothing at all. Your Majesty the Queen, I only mentioned it to you because you said you wanted to hear it. If you are still distracted, I won't say it. A minister beside him said to him with some anger. Sorry, the woman quickly sat up straight. The surrounding ministers all expressed their helplessness that the dignified Queen Asta was so helpless. Of course, such a queen also makes it easier for them to ignore her. Not bad. Jia Yan, who was originally a partial force but now became the permanent vassal state of Earth civilization, didn't know that his news would quickly go viral, and even the royal palace of the Asta Empire began to discuss it. He just followed the group of big shots who led the way, being led around by them as they walked, pointing out the development of this partial force. Sir, our partial force has been operating in this star area for a short time, but it has already formed a certain business scale. Sir, have you seen that the port over there is our main port? We just came here back then. At that time, this port was just a temporary docking port for our warships, but now it has become a large port with a daily cargo handling capacity of hundreds of merchant ships. Following the other party's instructions, Jia Yan saw that there was indeed a large port on the command star of the partial division forces, with goods coming in and out. Huh? Is your business here very prosperous? Jia Yan's eyes lit up, as if he had thought of something. That's right, our partial force does not have many resources in the starry sky. If we want to develop, we can only think of ways to develop it from a commercial perspective, the regent replied respectfully next to Jia Yan. In this way. Jia Yan nodded. Then if I let you try it, how about doing business on Earth? Do you have any opinions? After hearing Jia Yan's question, several Asta senior officials looked at each other. Then a flash of joy flashed in their eyes. You must know that now is Lord Jia Yan's question time. Especially on this kind of topic, if you perform well, it may be able to determine the general trend of Earth civilization in the future. As long as you answer it well, it will be of some help to Lord Jia Yan. If so, then their vassal status must be high. Sir, the Earth civilization is outside the Asta civilization and the Rulan civilization, and is adjacent to another marginal empire. If we can make good use of this geographical advantage, maybe we can start business. Hearing their answers, Jia Yan nodded with joy. In fact, he is also racking his brains for the current development of the Earth. After all, relying on his strength alone can only increase the influence of the Earth to a certain extent, but if the Earth civilization wants to truly rise, it must only if you have other specialties. Combat, technological civilization, etc., it is impossible for the Earth to rely on it within a few thousand years. No matter how you flatter it, it is impossible to catch up with the great empire. But if we start with business first, We won't be able to pay off the debt. Jia Yan's personal influence may also play a role in this aspect. Very good, thank you for your valuable advice. After listening to their chatter of professional terms, Jia Yan decided to leave this kind of matter to professionals on Earth. In short, he was sure that this group of people who were partial to special forces must be proficient in this way. Just looking at the fact that they were able to establish such a prosperous sphere of influence in the war-torn Asta Empire, you can tell that they are capable in business. Okay, sir, we have arrived at the place where the black hole is sealed. When they arrived at a huge building, several senior executives stopped. In fact, they didn't need to say it, Jia Yan had already felt that the space around the building was slightly distorted, presumably caused by the man-made black hole. Sir, the biochemical empire used this black hole to threaten us before. After their defeat, we didn't know how to seal the black hole. We could only use the simplest stupid method, using the anti-gravity device in the building to neutralize its gravity. So although we use it as a trump card against the Asta Empire government forces, we are always under the threat of its explosion. It can be said that we are worried and looking forward to it, and we are helpless against it. The regent said to Jia Yan with a wry smile. Jia Yan nodded. Even he could see that there were precision instruments everywhere in the building at the moment, suppressing the gravity inside. But if one of them was bad, there would be a malfunction in the precision instrument, or the energy would suddenly be cut off for a moment. That would be a shocking tragedy. Such a prosperous planet will be burned to the ground, and even the top brass will have no chance of running away. Since you also have a headache with it, and since you will become a vassal state of the earth and don't need to use it anymore, I will take it away. Jia Yan looked at the houses several hundred meters tall and said lightly. Master Jia Yan, please forgive me for saying more. It's really not that simple to move this thing. How do you take it away? The regent looked at Jia Yan, and then asked hesitantly. As far as he knew, Jia Yan drove a very small aircraft to the starry sky. Although they could not detect the aircraft now, it was definitely not a tool that could drag the black hole. Oh, just take it away. Jia Yan looked at the other party, and then walked to the wall of the huge building. They saw him taking one step towards the wall. The senior officials thought that Jia Yan was out of his mind and hit the wall, but the next moment, their eyes widened. It turned out that with one step, Jia Yan's footsteps seemed to go through the wall and disappeared directly. Immediately afterwards, the person also disappeared into the wall as if he had gotten into it. The Lord just went in like this. Wall penetration technique, the regent stared at the wall blankly, almost unable to believe his eyes. Haha, this is the real strong man. We can't even understand the methods he uses. A powerful man of the venerable level finally smiled bitterly and shook his head after seeing this scene. Originally, he was very confident, thinking that Jia Yan just looked like that. Although he was destined to be unable to defeat Jia Yan due to his reputation as a true warrior, he also felt that he could at least block Jia Yan's one or two blows. But looking at it now, he knew that he was naive. But Mr. Jia Yan went in. Can he resist the gravity of the black hole? How can he be taken away? I always thought that he was going to use some large machinery, but he went in empty-handed. What nonsense are you talking about? Are you going to go directly to get the black hole? You must go in and take a look first. As for the gravity of the black hole, there are always ways to deal with it if you are a master. Wait a minute. You will definitely tell us when you come out. Take away the black hole method. Just as the senior executives outside were talking about it, they suddenly felt an inexplicable fluctuation. When they were surprised to investigate, they found nothing. Perhaps Master Jia Yan is testing the black hole inside. You are so powerful. He is so close to the black hole and is still testing it inside. We don't even dare to get close. Several senior executives looked at the interior of the building in surprise. Within a minute, a figure appeared on the surface of the building. It looked like it was passing through the wall, but in fact it was Jia Yan who had traveled through the subspace and walked out of it. "Sir, how are you? Did you see the black hole?" The regent quickly stepped forward and asked Jia Yan in a flattering manner. "Yes, I saw it." Jia Yan smiled and nodded. It was obvious that he was very satisfied. "It's good to see it." "Sir, do you have any way to take it away now?" the regent asked curiously. After hearing this, Jia Yan turned to look at him with a smile. "I have taken it away. As strong men, there is no reason why you can't feel the changes in the surrounding gravity, right? Well, take it, take it." The surrounding senior officials all stared, as if they had seen a ghost. Their entire branch force was afraid of the black hole, but because they wanted to use it to threaten the Asta Empire government forces, they did not dare to go far. Every time they moved, it was an extremely headache. Jia Yan went in empty-handed alone. And then walked out and said he took it? Just kidding. But as a top expert, how could Jia Yan joke with them? Could the previous fluctuation be? The regent was almost stunned, and then ordered. He actually believed in Jia Yan unconditionally and directly opened the door of the huge building. After all the beings entered, they were all shocked beyond words. In front of them, nothing was left where the black hole was originally placed, only those precise instruments were left on the ground. And the small man-made black hole that was supposed to be several stories high had actually disappeared. What method did Master Jia Yan use to actually make that terrible black hole disappear out of thin air? Not long after, looking at the group of horrified and bewildered senior officials of the Eternal Kingdom of Earth, a dark light flew from the headquarters of the former Partial Division Force. "Haha, I finally got it. This way, the fighting power of my clone can also shoot in geometric forms." In the dark light, Jia Yan felt the small black hole in the subspace next to him, and showed a look of satisfaction. "Thanks to the miserable Aquarius brothers for the 1000 starting point coin reward again, and also to Spy Book Friend number 7 for the 5000 starting point coin reward. But I'm sorry, I can't even do double updates today. Bulletin U has a cold and feels dizzy. I can't code the second chapter at all. I'm sorry. There is a chance to make up for it. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1027. Jia Yan's busy work and obtaining the artificial black hole left by the biochemical empire took some time, but it was extremely smooth. The black hole he obtained was much smaller than the one he had in the Genius battlefield, and the suction power was not as good, but it was just right for a clone to use. It was too powerful and he couldn't control his clone well. Its power is probably a little less powerful than my last black hole, but it is also a great improvement for my already weak clone. Jia Yan got on the aircraft. Just one black hole would be enough. He originally wanted to try to see if several small black holes could gather together and turn into one comparable to the one he exploded before, but now it still doesn't work, and he doesn't. He asked whether any unexpected events would occur when the man-made black holes were fused. He only said that even if they were fused, it would be impossible to use this clone. After all, the energy is too small to control. In fact, according to the original strongman system, if Jia Yan's clone was not Jia Yan's clone, no matter how powerful his space talent was, he would not be able to collect the artificial black hole so easily, let alone use it as a combat tool. Jia Yan, on the other hand, has already had the habit and concept of using artificial black holes to fight for a long time, so that he can now greatly improve his combat power. If an ordinary venerable man approaches this kind of artificial black hole, he will probably kill him in a matter of minutes. Swallow it clean. Originally, the outside world thought that Mr. Jia Yan, who had intervened in the Asta civilized forces, would cause chaos in the Asta Empire. Several major forces vying for the Asta throne were even more worried about the rumor that he was dating the queen. The very good Lord Jiayan, will you allow them to be incorporated into the empire? But now it seems that Jiayan has no such idea at all. He only came to the force formerly known as the Partial Division. After accepting the opponent as a subordinate civilization of the Earth, he seemed to have taken the black hole in the Partial Division force and left like this. This made several major forces heave a long sigh of relief. But when they heard this rumor, they were also shocked. You must know that they all have man-made black holes, and it is extremely difficult to collect them. But Master Jiayan actually takes them as easily as eating and drinking. He is worthy of being a top powerhouse, his strength is simply unparalleled. No matter that Jiayan already had power, because of the status that the eternal kingdom of the earth had now gained, he also had the idea of becoming the eternal kingdom of the earth. He just got the man-made black hole and set sail again towards Kaowo's defense line. Master Jiayan, have you come to my defense line? The situation is somewhat urgent now. During the journey, Jiayan drove the spacecraft out of the subspace, and when he arrived at the special frequency band signal, he received the communication from the top commander of the Kaowo defense line, the general. I'm about to arrive. Why, is there an emergency at the defense line? Jiayan asked calmly to the figure at the end of the communication. He was also a little surprised in his heart. The other party seemed to be a little anxious in this communication. You must know that in this Orion arm, it is not that simple to conduct ultra-long-distance real-time communication. Sure enough, the answer given by the other party made Jiayan's heart skip a beat. That's right, sir, we don't have our own defense line. Originally, the most people who entered the barrier were some outside creatures that were stronger than the venerable ones in our defense line. But in the past few days, the other side seemed to have used some technology to make them stronger. Some creatures are able to come in. The strength of this kind of existence seems to be called a sub-level. Several of our venerables here have been killed. Even Lord Flame, one of the two powerful men in our empire, was killed in 2 battles. Only under the siege of the second pass level, I was slightly injured, but I still killed the opponent. Second level. Hearing the other party's words, Jiayan was startled, and then almost felt a bad feeling in his heart. How strong is this level? Please make it clear. Jiayan asked solemnly. I haven't seen it with my own eyes. Sir, let me tell you, I am one of the top 3 powerful venerables in the great empire, but if I were to face anyone of this level, I would be easily defeated. It's worth killing. But I think as long as there are 5 or 6 of us venerables, we can always resist such a strong monster. The other party's words made Jiayan let out a long sigh of relief. We must know the real strong men at the second level, such as the second level geniuses in the genius battlefield, not to mention the venerable in Orion's arms, even the venerables from the outside world, even 100,000 are not enough for them to kill. Now among the group of sub-level people who can come in, only 5 or 6 of the Orion arm venerables can resist, which is not too powerful. Well, it's okay. I'll be there soon. If anything happens, you can sort it out first and wait until I get there. Jiayan nodded. Okay, sir, I'm waiting for your arrival. When the other party saw Jiayan's expression, his eyes suddenly lit up. Jiayan's calmness can reveal many things that cannot be seen on the surface. This kind of calmness does not seem to be fake, so there can only be one reason, and that is Lord Jiayan. Is he still confident about dealing with this group of sub-level people? In fact, Jiayan didn't have much certainty. After turning off the communication, Jiayan had a headache. This kind of sub-level is probably the weakest and least talented in the outside world, but when it comes to this Orion arm, it is too powerful. The most depressing thing is that my clone's current strength is just a little stronger than an ordinary venerable being. If I want to deal with the sub-level, I can only look at the artificial black hole's combat power that I just obtained. Humph, if I were here, let alone such sub-level people, even if there were 1,000 of them, I would kill them all in one go. Jia Yan was almost desperate when he thought about the disparity in strength between the two sides. He must know that even his own avatar did not reach star-level strength. Compared with the opponent's huge biochemical star field, it was not even a little bit behind. There is also an advantage here, and that is the isolation barrier that has been in place for who knows how many years. If the strong people from the outside come in, they will not be able to stay for long. Even if the entire defense line collapses, I am not worried about the other party advancing to the earth. As long as the other party dares to attack, there may be a way to solve this problem. If it doesn't work out, I can really only place my hope on Ziba. If she can really develop the ejection device, then I will take another risk and come back to the Orion Arm in person for a long-lost return home battle. Bar. As long as the opponent's existence does not reach the star level, my true body will not be crisp. And now the true body's strength is also improving all the time. The longer the time drags on, the more beneficial it is to me. Jia Yan thought so much, and then felt a little relieved. Yes, although the current Kao self-defense line looks more dangerous, no matter how you say it, it is still far away from affecting the Earth. Originally, the Earth has not so many connections with external civilizations, so even the surrounding civilizations, or even if it is destroyed, it has nothing to do with the Earth. If the worst happens, Jia Yan will find a way to relocate the entire Earth. Of course, this will require an unknown amount of time and energy. The aircraft slowly accelerated, and Jia Yan was no longer saving the little super energy he had left. We had already raised the need for super energy with the Great Empire. If there were no surprises, this time when we arrived at Kao's defense line, the other party would have prepared some temporary supplies. Of course, the technology on the Orion Arm is inferior, just like the energy provided by the Rulan Empire that we are using now. The energy of this replacement is definitely not up to standard, and the aircraft will still have problems after being used for a long time, but there is no way now. If you really wait for Zbala's ejection teleportation technology, you may not have it until you die. During the flight, Jia Yan's spirit returned to his real body. Unfortunately, his real body still did not connect with the Aditha. However, there is also good news, that is, during this period of time, his real body's hidden power has become stronger. The previous series of battles have deepened his body and understanding of energy. You must know that before, for those who have experienced life and death battles, that kind of fighting level is a terrifying level for Jia Yan's real body. Because of what he has experienced, it is normal for him to have stronger momentum now. Everything seems to be brewing, waiting for the moment when Jia Yan explodes. Both parties were in a hurry, and time passed quickly. Jia Yanda, I have arrived at your Tingtian pavilion. Oh my god, it turns out that you borrowed the name Mok and became so famous in the Dark Realm. You are worthy of the Lord Jia Yan whom I admire. Now Ziba is here for me. I like you more. In a certain place, Zibala rushed to the Dark Realm to hear the news of Tianj reaching Jia Yan's ears. Very good. Have you seen the supplies I asked them to prepare a long time ago? How do you feel? Jia Yan didn't pay much attention to her admiration, but asked her what she thought about the supplies. Some are okay, some are not. I want to take a closer look. Sir, please give me permission. If you want anything, I can buy it myself. You can't ask me to get money, right? Although Zibala admires Jia Yan, he is quite clear on this point. Okay, I will give you full management rights of Tingtian Pavilion. If necessary, I don't care if you blow it up for me, but you have to make the device for me, Jia Yan said jokingly. In fact, it puts some pressure on the other party. He really didn't care about Tingtian Pavilion, but the ejection device was different. From what he had thought about before, he thought that although the arrival of the real body was not necessarily necessary, with this backup, the clone's work would be easier. Would be so timid. Of course, the working style is different between those who do and those who do not. To put it bluntly, if the clone dies, if his true body can return, he can still appear in the crisis of the Earth. But if the clone cannot be ejected and return quickly, then the clone is dead, not talking about the strong people outside the Orion Arm, only the Orion Arm. The internal civilizations will probably devour the entire Earth alive. Just over Jia Yan's real body, after talking to Zibala, suddenly, a communication voice sounded inside the armor. "Master, I finally received your signal. Wow, haha, I haven't seen you for several years. How wonderful, Master. I'm here, Adisha. The Adisa has arrived. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito." Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1028. The Edisha had already been separated from Jia Yan in the Edge Star area of the Genius battlefield. Jia Yan came to the Central Star region through the unique star teleportation technology. With his ability, it is already a great miracle to be able to bring the artificial black hole to the Central Star region in subspace. He wants to bring the huge and incomparable Eddy. Together with Shakespeare, that is absolutely impossible. Therefore, the bitter Aditha is flying slowly in space by itself, avoiding the strong men and battleships on the road. It is considered a great achievement to be able to fly to this central area in a few years. Not long after, Jia Yan saw the long-lost Aditha at the junction of the Central District and another star district adjacent to the Central District. As a battleship that is smart enough and has the shadow of his predecessor, Jia Yan has deep feelings for the Edisha, especially since the Edisha can accompany him all the way to the stellar level. There will be more battles in the future. The system and support can be repaired, which makes Jia Yan value it even more. "Master, your Adisha is here. Have you missed my little Adisha?" Entering the Aditha, the little light and shadow mosquitoes flew over and kept surrounding Jia Yan. He was extremely happy, maybe because he hadn't seen Jia Yan for so long, and seemed a little lonely. "Haha, of course I miss you. You can fly here from an alien area alone. It's amazing. Yeah, Edisha is the best, Edisha is so cute." Edisha happily flew and danced around Jia Yan. "Okay, let's get started now. Let's look for where there is a black hole, and go there to collect some raw materials to make a black hole." Jia Yan shook his head, praised Edisha, and then immediately turned to the topic of work. Yeah, okay, it seemed like Edisha had been alone for a long time. Now she was even more excited to see Jia Yan and wanted to talk. Fortunately, this didn't last long. When it entered working mode, it took control of the Edisa and started searching around. Not only the news on the internet, it will also compare the distortion rate of the surrounding space within dozens of light years, and then determine where there is the shadow of the black hole. In fact, black holes are still very common in the universe, but because the universe is so large, the chances of encountering them seem to be low. Then look carefully, and you may find their shadows within a few light years. Yes, it's so close. There is a small black hole 2 light years away, which meets our requirements. Suddenly Edisha roared happily. Yes? Okay, let's go over there. This time I thought of some adjustments. The black hole produced must be better than the last one. Of course, the explosion power must be more powerful. It's best. Can threaten the stellar level. Jia Yan's eyes were a little dark. He had no choice. The opponent he had faced might have reached the stellar level, so he had to think about this issue. 2 light years is another flying distance. Jia Yan switched his thoughts to the clone. Because of the super-fast space aircraft, he reached Kaowo's defense line very quickly. The spirit comes from the true body to the clone. Huh? We're here, but what's going on here? As soon as Jia Yan turned around, he realized that the aircraft had arrived at the edge of the field and was parked in the subspace. In the warp, almost safe, no creature in the Orion Arm can sense the warp, let alone attack. So as soon as he regained his energy, he was shocked. It turns out that there are warships almost everywhere outside this starry sky. Some warships are damaged and burning. Just when Jia Yan stared out of sight, outside that space, a light exploded from a distant place, and a battleship exploded under his nose. Jia Yan finally regained his composure and instantly understood what had happened. It turns out that he set the coordinates of the aircraft at the center of Kaowo's defense line, which is where the general command is located. What I didn't expect was that the star field was also targeted by the enemy. Now there are powerful outsiders attacking the General Command Department. In the surrounding starry sky, there are shadows of battleships everywhere. Because the most important department was attacked, almost all the battleships near the Kaowo defense line arrived. The total number is no less than 2,000. 2,000 battleships almost blocked the sky and the sun. Even Jia Yan felt a sense of grandeur when he saw them. Of course, compared to the total number of battleships in the entire Kaowo defense line, these 2,000 battleships are not many. If there are only 2,000 battleships, no matter what kind of lord they face, they should not be easily destroyed one-sidedly. That's right. But this is not the case now. A monster is more than 2 million kilometers away in the Jiayan subspace area, where it is killing a group of warships. His battleship method is very strange. He uses a ring-shaped weapon. When he picks up this weapon, the battleship will be sucked by him. Then his body speed increases more than 10 times, and he is instantly sucked to the vicinity of the battleship. With one punch, the battleship was damaged. The surrounding warships bombarded him, but they couldn't hit him at all, and even if they hit him, they would only tickle him. Second level. Jia Yan was startled, and then became solemn. In this Orion arm, this was the first time he saw a sub-level existence. Although in the eyes of the real body, this kind of sub-level could probably be blown to death with one breath, but now he is just a clone, and the power is only at the most basic level of the Venerable. Fortunately, Jia Yan has many advantages. Even if the clone's strength is only that of the Venerable, the real body's vision is also here, and it has more combat skills, especially the black hole combat method. If you use it, it can increase your combat strength several times. There's another one over there. Jia Yan looked carefully. Because the clone was not strong enough, he could only vaguely feel that 8 or 9 million kilometers away, there was another sub-level existence fighting a strong man, and that strong man, the person seemed to be able to compete with him a little, but was already seriously injured. Presumably that strong man is the other one of the two top beings in the Great Empire, the one named Flame, right? Although he is only half a star within Orion's arm, he is able to fight successfully against a second-level strong man from the outside world. In this way, it is quite commendable. Jia Yan looked at the opponent's battle and felt that although he was about to lose, it would not be so fast for the time being, so he nodded immediately. Okay, since we are partners, I will go to fight. I didn't expect that I would join such a battle just after I came here. I hope the clone will not die. Jia Yan quietly activated his space talent sense. In fact, his clone was not his real body, and his talent could not be compared with Jia Yan's evolved beast true body. It was just that his spirit brought part of his talent sense, so he could sense it to a certain extent. Control space. Just millions of kilometers away, warships were being destroyed one after another. Hold on. Hold on, if he attacks and destroys our command star, then we will be finished without our own defense line. That's right, His Majesty the General said that as long as we hold back for one more day, or even half a day, Master Jia Yan might be here. Let's talk about Mr. Jia Yan, let's talk about our Lord Lion. Why doesn't he come? What else is he busy with? Is there anything more important than Kaowo's defense line? Now we can only expect an outsider, alas. Each battleship in the battle is exchanging information rapidly. Although the combat was not advanced, the opponent was not something that real warships could not deal with, so 2,000 ships together still posed a slight threat to that Guan-level existence. The other party's steps were slowed down. However, the warships were destroyed one by one, and the number of 2,000 warships was reduced by more than 100 within 10 minutes. Die! You bunch of country people huddled in the countryside. The monster was about 2,780 meters in size. Although it was not big, it had sub-level strength and should not be underestimated. The ring in his hand stretched out, and then a battleship 5,000 kilometers away was attracted to him. Then it was like a magnet effect. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of the battleship, and punched out, causing the battleship broke apart in the air. I don't know how many of the creatures inside died in less than a second. Run! Let's run away. We can't stop him at all. Even if we run together, he won't be able to catch up. Suddenly a battleship made such remarks. You can run away, but we people from the Great Empire will not escape. It turned out that the person who spoke before was a captain who was not from the Great Empire, but now it was a person from the Great Empire who responded to him. Find bookstore. Humph, whoever is willing to sacrifice his life for your great empire, let's go. The captain of the battleship laughed suddenly, and then ordered the brainwave to make the battleship blocking the front line retreat quickly. Want to escape? No way. But it was good that he didn't move. The monster noticed it when he moved. He lifted the ring in his hand and was completely sucked into the escaping battleship, approaching quickly. No. We can't escape. The battleships around us need help. The battleship captain actually aimed at him, and his speed was far faster than his battleship that had not yet increased its speed. Seeing this scene, he was frightened and quickly called for help from the surrounding battleships. You want to escape on your own, and now you want us to rescue you? You're dreaming. The captain of the Imperial fleet who had spoken to him before responded calmly, seeming to be a little gloating about his misfortune. The captain was shocked, and when he was about to say something, the other party had already arrived in front of him. He laughed ferociously, raised his fist, and the next moment, the fist was about to hit the body of the battleship. At this moment, a gap slowly opened in the space in front of his fist. Within the gap, a human figure appeared, and before the monster could see the opponent's figure clearly, the shadow had already been lifted with the same punch. The opponent's figure is only the size of the knuckles of this monster's fist, but such a being actually dares to fist fight with this monster face to face? Are you gifted in space? I am just a venerable, or the weakest venerable. How dare you come to block me? Die! The monster finally felt the appearance of the figure in front, and then looked slightly startled, sensing the strength of the person coming. Thank you for watching my cool book friends. 2000 starting coin reward. Thank you Duo00 book friend for your 500 starting coin reward. Thank you Wanya HT, yes Yang Chen, touch your pocket and have no money book friends for your reward, thank you. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin Yu. Chapter 1029. Guanji laughed loudly this time. Sure enough, there was no shortage of fools in this backward area. He had heard before that when attacking this area, a heaven-level being wanted to fight against an outsider. After talking nonsense for a long time, he was killed in one blow. This kind of joke has become very famous among outside expeditionary force partners recently. Everyone thinks that coming here to fight is just a vacation. It must be the same for the guy in front of me. He is still a venerable in his small body, but he actually wants to fight him face to face. Die! The opponent came to Jia Yan and punched him with his fist. The arrival of this figure was not only noticed by the monsters fighting in front of them, but also by the Kaowo defense line soldiers in the rear. Although their eyesight may not be so good, their surveillance radar is good and they can detect the biological fluctuations that suddenly appear on the battlefield. Of course, it is easy for Jia Yan to hide it from them, but there is no need now. What's that over there? Why did a figure suddenly appear, and this biological wave is a venerable? Huh? This venerable man may have some special ability. He actually moved in front of the monster, trying to block the opponent's terrifying body with his body. It's so heroic. Each and every creature with no self-defense line thought that this being, who seemed to be just a fluctuation of the Supreme Being, was sent to death to buy the battleship time to escape. What is this called? This is called sacrificing one's life for righteousness. Only on the command star in the rear, a human-like man is sitting. Although he has a venerable level of strength, he is not moving now. This is the supreme leader of the entire Kawo defense line, also known as the Great General. He wants to sit on the defense line. If he also goes out to fight and dies, then the entire Kawo defense line will be over. No, Master Flame and 2,000 battleships can't stop them at all. What should I do? My previous experience has no effect at all against this kind of crushing force. He looked at the battle scene on the screen. Not only that, but beside the screen, there were also values calculated by computer data and so on. But no matter how you calculate it, there are a series of unknowns in the opponent's combat biological data, and you can't even calculate the opponent's strength. At this time, the monster with fists destroyed several battleships with one blow. He simply could not imagine how to defend such an existence. He had told his subordinates before that although the other party had two so-called sub-level powerhouses, in addition to Lord Flame dragging down one of them, there was also Lord Jia Yan who was coming soon. But this is just a reason to comfort the subordinates. Jia Yan is a powerful creature that does not belong to the great empire. God knows where he came from. And maybe he arrived and saw how terrifying the creatures here were, so he might just not join the fight and run away. The Earth is also far away from Kawo's defense line, so there is no benefit or danger for the time being. He actually said that because he wanted his subordinates to die to buy time. Although this kind of existence is powerful, the time they can stay in the arms of Orion is very short. As long as they send enough heads, they will have no choice but to do so. I can return to the barrier. He had no choice but to ask his subordinate soldiers to use their lives to fill the gap. But just when he saw the destruction of battleships one after another, he almost felt heartbroken and didn't want to look at it. Huh? This data is... He suddenly discovered that on a screen, the fist monster in battle was displayed, and a piece of space-distorted data actually appeared next to him. Then, as a respected person, he directly discovered a faint figure slowly appearing in front of the fist monster. Lord Jia Yan. The general stood up with an expression of ecstasy. With sharp eyes, he recognized that the figure that appeared was not Jia Yan, but who was it? It turns out that Mr. Jia Yan did not fail to abide by the agreement between us. Of course, those battleships were not as simple as he said at the time. They were given to the people of the Earth. By default, Jia Yan was asked to take appropriate action to help Kawo's defense line. Originally, he thought that Jia Yan would not take action, but now Master Jia Yan actually appeared. Very good. He was overjoyed. But after I was overjoyed, I felt cold again when I saw the huge physical gap between the figure that appeared on the screen and the huge monster on the other side. Even Lord Flame can't deal with another so-called second level. Can Lord Jia Yan be able to deal with it? He was worried that Master Jia Yan was not as powerful as the two top powerhouses in the great empire. After all, in their view, no matter how much Jia Yan was praised by Mr. Lion King, compared to the two old powerhouses, that it's definitely a bit weaker. The inner thoughts of the surrounding creatures and observers, regarding the current battle, even if their thoughts have only changed slightly, the battle has already begun. The figure who stepped out of the subspace was indeed Jia Yan. Facing the opponent's fist, Jia Yan looked solemnly, and then the space around him suddenly distorted. Buzz. The entire space was twisted and terrifying. Huh. The face of the fist monster that bombarded him changed, and his fist was suddenly sucked aside in the twisted space. Jia Yan dodged at the same time and cleverly avoided the blow. I had dodged as fast as I could, but the opponent's bombardment actually almost hit me even though I used the black hole to attract it. It was so dangerous. Although he dodged, Jia Yan's heart was still solemn. You were able to dodge my blow. As everyone knows, Jia Yan was surprised by the opponent's strength, but the opponent was even more shocked than Jia Yan. You must know that Jia Yan is just a being who seems to be only a venerable level. Not to mention the strong man with the Orion arm, he is generally weaker than the strong people in the outside world. Even if he is not weak, he is as powerful as the ordinary venerable people in the outside world. He is a sub-level person. It's definitely crushing. But Jia Yan actually avoided it? Heh, I didn't just dodge your blow. Jia Yan breathed a long sigh of relief. He used to be afraid of his own clone, who would be killed in one blow. After all, for him, he couldn't measure the specific strength of breaking into the second level before. Now he gives it a try. Then we roughly understand. Although he is also a venerable in his own body, his actual combat power has long reached the level of a mid-level half-star genius in the genius battlefield. If this kind of strength is exposed to the outside world, against ordinary half-stars, he can almost wipe out a large area. So the eyesight is definitely high. Be proud of having dodged a single blow, huh? The monster felt that he had not left a big hand with his previous attack. Now that he saw Jia Yan talking like this, he thought that he had escaped from his attack by luck and dared to be proud of it. He was immediately furious. With the existence of a mere Orion arm, if you can't solve it with a few hits, you will definitely be laughed at if you go back. He raised his fist again, no longer caring about the warships around him, and suddenly launched another attack on Jia Yan. At this moment, the twisted space around him appeared again, and the monster's fist was deflected again. What exactly is this? The fist monster was absolutely furious. He had felt before that his attack was interrupted by the opponent's mysterious thing, and he was also attracted to the side. But now, he noticed carefully that the things used by the other party were actually used from the subspace. Space talent? What kind of creature are you from? My friend, if you are also an outside creature, please don't worry about the affairs of my biochemical star territory. You can't afford to offend our biochemical star territory. He finally had a high opinion of Jia Yan. You must know that those who have space talents are considered geniuses in the eyes of ordinary beings. That is to say, in places such as the genius battlefield, and other places where they see beings with talents, they will be careful, because maybe a big family or force will be involved. Of course I am a native of Orion Arm. Don't say more. Since you look down on me, a little venerable, then let's fight. Jia Yan tried 2 moves and had a rough idea of how his own strength would feel against the opponent's. He immediately flew forward and clenched his fists. This punch was nothing compared to the opponent's fist. Let alone the fist, Jia Yan was not as big as a fingernail. But under this punch, the other party no longer had any contempt for it and resisted with all his strength. The fists of both sides met. Boom. In the vacuum universe that should have been silent, due to the vibration of space, all the surrounding creatures heard the sound of the collision between the two sides. An instant later, Jia Yan, who had added the gravity of the black hole and even a trace of control power, actually fought evenly with the opponent. Both sides retreated 10 kilometers. The huge fist monster's shock this time was truly the most powerful in history. He previously thought that the tiny creature like Jia Yan, even if it could dodge his blow, would not be able to confront him head-on. But now the other party didn't have any fancy attacks against him, but the result was not what he wanted to see. This guy actually has the strength to fight with him. Well done, you are worthy of Master Jia Yan. I had doubts about Master Jia Yan before, so you really deserve a slap in the face. The general in front of the screen on the command star burst into laughter when he saw this scene. Saved, this battle is a battle where the life of their Kawo defense line hangs on a thread. The opponent uses surprise attack tactics and uses two major sub-levels to implement beheading tactics. If he loses, he will die, and the entire Kawo defense line will also be destroyed. To be finished. Master Flame was already in danger when facing a sub-level monster. He originally wanted to drag the other monster with his life, but in fact it didn't drag him back much. He had already calculated it, maybe half an hour later, is the time of his death. What I didn't expect was that Lord Jia Yan actually appeared. And as soon as he appeared, he achieved such great achievements that he was actually strong enough to fight against a sub-level being. Okay. Great, Adjutant, write it down for me. If we can survive this battle, we can give more supplies to the Earth, and sign a permanent good contract with them. With Mr. Jia Yan, our empire should be in harmony with the Earth civilization. Sit on equal footing. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1030. The small person who suddenly appeared actually started a fierce battle with the sub-level creature from the outside world, and even managed to win? Compared to the general in front of the command screen, the ordinary soldiers around who didn't know much about Jia Yan were almost shocked. After all, the great empire recognizes that the strongest person on earth, Lord Jia Yan, is as powerful as the two top powerhouses of the great empire. Ordinary people don't know much about this, even if the general said before that Lord Jia Yan will come to help. But they only knew the name of this being. Most of them didn't even know what the other person looked like, whether it was huge or short. But now they suddenly saw that this creature, which may be smaller than a newborn child of some races, actually blocked the attack of that creature without losing any of it. Even with their eyes widened, one by one, almost speechless. God, who is this? How could he, be on par with such a terrifying outside creature? It's really terrifying. A being of this size, not much bigger than a booger in the other's eyes, can actually fight like this with the opponent. I'm going crazy. Who tells me this isn't true? You're not crazy. I just saw the information. Let me tell you, this is Lord Jia Yan that the general said. In our entire Orion arm, the great empire is the same powerful person as the two top beings. Rank, that's a godlike figure, don't look down on someone if they're of a lower race. Is this your excellency Jia Yan? I just thought that the general, Sir Jia Yan, was talking about Sir Jia Yan to comfort our military morale. In the entire battleship commanding the outer defense of the star, every Orion arm creature went crazy. They saw that the strong man of the race whose size was extremely inconsistent with him was actually fighting head-on with the terrifying existence from the outside world. Boom boom boom. When Jia Yan struck, because every blow used the power of the black hole, the space vibrated, and there were bursts of sounds around him, like thunder. And under this earth-shattering vibration, paired with the tiny body of his current avatar, there is a kind of cute contrast, which almost makes everyone who sees it extremely shocked. How is that possible? Your moves are completely mature. You are definitely not a creature with the Orion arm. If you dare to go against my biochemical empire, you will be dead. The creature fighting Jia Yan saw Jia Yan's blow after blow, and actually fought him head-on. Faintly, it seemed that the opponent was slowly getting stronger, and it suddenly roared with fear and anger. Haha, I said it before, I am a complete Orion arm person. As for why my fighting style is external, there is no point in explaining it to you, a dying person. Now, die. The more Jia Yan fights, the faster he becomes proficient in the black hole fighting method of the avatar. After all, he is already proficient in this kind of fighting in the main body. Now when using the avatar, he only needs to pay attention to the size of the body, and the use of energy cannot be so huge. After a few moves, they slowly gained the upper hand. When he said death lightly, a big hole seemed to open in the universe. In this big hole, a terrifying suction force was revealed. The opponent originally wanted to punch Jia Yan. Although he thought that his blow would not have much effect now, it was necessary to fight. But at this moment, he suddenly felt a strong suction force on his side, and then looked back with a slightly startled expression. This is... His entire body was split open at an angle in the universe, revealing a large black hole, and his expression suddenly changed dramatically. You know, as a being in the biochemical star field, he is familiar with this kind of thing. When fighting against the attack of the super empire around the biochemical country, this kind of thing was first used by a certain force, and then spread to the entire star field. It was its appearance that slowly changed the disadvantage in combat, turning defeat into victory in the biochemical star territory, and finally swallowed up a lot of the opponent's territory. What appeared behind was a man-made black hole. How is that possible? How did this thing get into the subspace? This thought came to mind as soon as the monster felt the suction coming. But before he could think about anything else, he felt that his body was actually blocked by a strange space on the surface of the black hole, causing his body that wanted to escape to rush forward with all its strength. And in front of him was Jia Yan's clone himself. He smiled lightly, already prepared, and clenched his fists. Since you like fists so much, I'll give you a ride with my fists. Puff. Jia Yan's clone's brainwave power was concentrated a little, and then used with all his strength like an explosion. After a soft sound, his fist slammed into the opponent's head. And because of the full speed of the opponent's collision, Jia Yan's entire body was severely knocked away by the opponent. After more than 100 kilometers, Jia Yan finally stabilized his figure. On the other side, the monster that hit Jia Yan's eyes slowly lost its life color. In the center of his head, there was a big hole that had just been punched by Jia Yan. Of course, this was not really made by a fist. After all, it was unlikely that Jia Yan's whole body would have caused such a big hole if he crashed into his head. This is because Jia Yan used the opponent's charging power to escape from the black hole, coupled with his own brainwave power, to pierce the opponent's head, and then caused the opponent to die directly. Jia Yan felt a sharp pain in his clone. It seemed that this full blow also caused his clone to suffer heavy injuries. The power that had just been transmitted from the real body in his body was completely exhausted. If it hadn't been deliberately left behind in the end, keep flying, maybe you won't be able to calm down now. This one. Lord Flame hasn't won yet. Lord Jia Yan actually won like this. What nonsense are you talking about? It's fine if Lord Flame's side doesn't lose. The onlookers felt as if they had seen the most incredible thing in the world when they saw this scene, and the whole place was silent for a moment. Then everyone shouted in surprise. I really won. Master Jia Yan is so awesome. I think he is more powerful than Lord Flame. I see, there is a reason why the great empire lowered its status and gave him an identity. It's terrible, it's terrible. The opponent couldn't even hold out for 30 moves? Is this the Lord Jia Yan that the general said? With him, why would the defense line be unable to be defended without me? The surrounding creatures were all praising Jia Yan, but Jia Yan just stood there quietly. He was mobilizing the power from his real body to see if he could pass on some more. Let me go, the connection energy system has been shut down. It seems that I caused them a lot of trouble last time, that's all. The situation is not critical now, so it's okay not to transmit it. I guess with their progress, it will be transmitted soon. Jia Yan was stunned in the starry sky, and the surrounding battleship soldiers were also stunned for a moment, and then they raised questions. What's wrong? It stands to reason that Lord Jiayan, who was so easy to deal with that foreign creature, should go over to help Lord Flame now and join forces with him to kill that Guan level together. Why is he not moving? Some creatures are so confused. Maybe the adults are also injured. Just when the surrounding creatures were all surprised and confused by Jiayan, Jiayan heard a voice requesting communication from his communicator. He frowned and looked at it, then stood in the starry sky with a group of warships looking around, and picked up the communication. Master Jiayan, you were lucky just now. I wonder if you were injured anywhere in this battle. Opposite him, General Kaowo defense line showed a happy face, and then the being asked Jiayan more respectfully. There are no injuries, but I guess I will need a lot of money to recuperate later. Alas, my Earth's resources and money are too few, and I can't afford to support a strong man like me. Jiayan had a sudden thought in his heart, and then he began to cry. He looked behind him. More than 1,000,000 kilometers away, the Flame Master seemed to have learned about the battle situation here. He was fighting and escaping here. So if you don't want benefits now, then when? When the general heard Jiayan's words, his nose almost became angry. Jiayan looked like he had nothing to do at all, yet he was here crying about his poverty. But at this juncture, he didn't want this great help to be lost like this. Master Jiayan is saying that if you have made great contributions to Kaowo's defense line, our empire will naturally repay you. Now I make the decision, and later for your recovery, Kaowo the defense line will give you a batch of materials, and the Earth Alliance has also contributed a lot in this battle. I will tell them now that the materials and manpower to aid the construction of the Earth will be doubled tomorrow. Haha, thank you then. Jiayan nodded, seemingly satisfied. The other party's excuse was so far-fetched, it was just that he had failed in the battle. After all, he really contributed a lot, but the Earth Alliance didn't even see a thing, and they actually said, they contributed a lot. Of course, Jiayan would not point out the idea that those who understand current affairs are heroes. Then, Your Excellency Jiayan, please take a look. If your injuries are not serious, can you help Lord Flame of my great empire? He may not be able to hold on. Seeing Jiayan nodding, the other party quickly asked this question. Well, seeing how intense the battle is with Your Excellency Flame, I originally didn't want to bother you, but now that you've said so, I'll just do it. I hope that Your Excellency won't be angry with me for stealing his record later. No, absolutely not. Jiayan smiled. After closing the communication, Jiayan took a deep breath. The remaining energy can be used 2 or 3 times using the black hole. With the cooperation of the flame, it won't be too difficult to kill that guy. Jiayan slowly entered the subspace. But what he didn't expect was that the monster seemed to sense something. When it was nearly 200,000 kilometers away, it almost didn't look back, put down the flame monster that was almost winning, and headed towards the defense barrier like crazy. Escape. Thanks to Sushin Duian Book Friend for the 3,000 starting coin reward, and to Go You Busy 1-Up Book Friend for the 1,500 starting coin reward. Thank you to Book Friends Wanjai HT for the 500 starting coin reward, and to Book Friends Yes Yang Chen and Juyan for their rewards. Thank you. Reborn as an Interstellar Giant Mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1031. As expected of an external creature, the sense of smell is very sensitive. It is updated the fastest. Looking at the monster that had escaped from a distance, Jiayan had no intention of chasing it. He slowly walked out of subspace, his expression indifferent. If you chase him, what if he just kills him, not to mention that he doesn't have much energy now. For a mere sublevel, there are as many forces as there are in the biochemical star field from the outside. Jiayan doesn't think that if people can come in this time, they won't be able to enter next time. When Jiayan appeared in space, he saw the huge creature not far away that had just had a battle with the escaping monster, approaching with vigilance. He is a snake-like monster, but there is a ball of flame all over his body, which is blood red, and after the battle, his body is also covered with wounds, making the flame look even redder. Thank you, Your Excellency Jia Yan, for your generous help. My name is Huo Yan, the other snakehead said. It can be seen that unlike the lion monster, this flame is silent. Hello, I'm Jia Yan. Jia Yan nodded. The two sides didn't exchange much words. Jia Yan could tell that the basilisk was slightly afraid of him, so he didn't embarrass him. He nodded directly and flew towards Cao Wo's defense line while keeping a distance from him. Command Star. Welcome Lord Flame and Lord Jia Yan to return with a great victory. When they just arrived at the Command Star, the general whom they had seen in the communication came out to greet them. He has a face that is very similar to humans. In this regard, he has a natural affinity with Jia Yan, so he is also very enthusiastic towards Jia Yan. Of course the same is true for Jia Yan. After a few polite words, all the creatures entered a well-defended building on the Command Star. This building is good. It is estimated that it can resist the attacks of many starry sky level and venerable people. Haha, sir, you are flattered. It may be useless to defend against the starry sky level and the venerable. If what comes is the sub-level existence like before, this kind of building will also be useless. The general smiled bitterly and shook his head at Jia Yan. He was extremely confident in his building before, but when he saw the sub-level creatures from the outside world, his confidence was gone. Lord Jia Yan, there are things I didn't dare to say in front of my subordinates just now. There are only a few of us now. Let me tell you the truth. I know from previous intelligence that the forces from the outside world that invaded our Orion arm are far from that. Simple. Even the sub-level beings who came in just now are weak to them. Above that, there are half-star level, and even more powerful, star level, which is a level that none of us can the horrors of imagination exist. When they arrived at a deserted place, the general was alone with Jia Yan and Huo Huo. He told the information he had received before with a hint of surprise. While he was saying this, he also looked deeply at Jia Yan's expression, and when he saw that Jia Yan did not show any surprise, he immediately understood what was happening. Presumably Master Jia Yan must have understood something when he caught the venerable man before. Or, sir, have you ever been to the outside world at all, as those monsters said? He asked somewhat inquiringly. Haha, Jia Yan shook his head, and then he didn't hide anything and replied directly, yes, I have been to the outside world, and it's more than one place, so I understand the terror of the outside world better than you do. As soon as he finished saying this, not only the silent flame stared at him dumbfounded, but even the general, who had been prepared for it, looked surprised. Lord Jia Yan has indeed been to the outside world. No wonder you are so powerful. The general was shocked for a while, and then shook his head with a wry smile, seeming to find a reason for Jia Yan's strength. Make no mistake, even in the outside world, the reason for being strong is not the environment, but depends on the individual. It's just that compared to the Orion arm, there are more strong people in the outside world, and the site will be further away, so it can reach a stronger point. Bar. Jia Yan calmly expressed his analysis. In fact, even he believed that in the Orion arm, the energy in the space would be a little less than in the outside star field, but this is definitely not the reason why the Orion arm is so much weaker than the outside world. Even in the outer star field, there are some places that are even thinner in energy than the Orion arm, but they will still produce some powerful semi-stars. Of course, star-level stars cannot be mentioned. The emergence of star-level stars is very demanding. There are only 2 semi-star level creatures in the Orion arm, and even their actual combat power is much weaker than ordinary sub-level creatures in the outside world. In this case, they cannot be compared with the entire biochemical star field. Sir Jia Yan is saying that our Orion arm is a little closed now, but the main reason is because we can't get out. Although I don't know how you got out of the outside world, I don't want you to tell me. Method. Because I know that if my strength is exposed to the outside world, I might die quickly, but I still hope that adults can bring some factors to make our Orion arm stronger, otherwise today's situation of being passively beaten will be a disaster for future generations. Sun continues to go down, isn't this the tragedy of our Orion arm? Jia Yan didn't say much, just nodded. After discussing topics related to strength, some secrets that Jia Yan didn't understand finally came. Sir, you still don't know the secret of our Orion arm, and you don't know the reason why the other party can't enter, but you are willing to fight with the strong man for our Orion arm. I feel extremely happy. Now I will also tell you the secret of our Orion arm. Secret, it's a long story. The general and Yan Yan looked at each other, and then Yan Yan looked back at Jia Yan for a moment, and then nodded calmly. Jia Yan saw all this, and his heart moved slightly. He understands that although the Orion arm is a large piece of territory, it is by no means a good place. In this galaxy, there are even unowned places, and the other party cannot afford to fight to the death for an inaccessible territory. So the invading force definitely needs something in this Orion arm. Sir, the outside world thinks that the mythical beast Hao Yi mentioned by our empire thinks that we are talking about the senior mythical beast thousands of years ago, but they are all wrong. We claim to be the mythical beast Hao Yi, but we are basically talking about hundreds of thousands of years. That great ancestor before us. Hundreds of thousands of years ago. Jia Yan was shocked. He did not expect that this great empire actually knew what happened hundreds of thousands of years ago. Of course, if you think about it, you will understand that the other party has more sources of intelligence. Of course, you will understand that the person who was born in the Orion arm 10,000 years ago, and then became famous in the entire galaxy, and several others in the galaxy. The senior evolutionary beast who fought against all great beings. That's right. That senior is the most powerful in the history of our entire Orion arm, and maybe one of the top few in the history of the entire galaxy. His demeanor back then, we can't even imagine now. Sir, all you need to know is that this great Orion arm, a barrier that spans hundreds of light years, was created by this Sir. Even today, hundreds of thousands of years later, it can still block the entry of powerful people from the outside world. My Orion arm. Although Jia Yan had already deduced this information, he couldn't help but let out a long sigh of relief when he heard it from others. Facing such a powerful person, what does Jia Yan's strength mean? At that point, Jia Yan would probably die with just one look. But what does the other party say this to pave the way for the next words? Jia Yan didn't think that the other party would just remember his ancestors when he told about things that happened hundreds of thousands of years ago. Of course, there would be other reasons. Could it be that the senior left something behind? Jia Yan's heart moved. Sure enough, after the general said this, he went on to say, that great senior left an item back then. This is what the invading enemy wants this time. Even this force they came to attack just because they had a vague feeling that we still have that thing. If they understand that there really is still that thing in our great empire. He smiled bitterly and shook his head, then it may not be just a simple force coming to attack. Maybe the forces in the entire biochemical star field will attack like moths to a flame. You know, although the barrier left by the great predecessors is strong, hundreds of thousands of years have passed. We speculate that as long as there are star-level beings coming to attack, it may be broken through. Then what is it that attracts them so much? Jia Yan asked. The essence and blood left by that great senior. Essence and blood. Jia Yan was shocked. He is not unfamiliar with this kind of thing, because in his true form, he still retains a large amount of the essence and blood of his inherited predecessors. This is how a powerful person above the star level can take the initiative to stay and benefit future generations after his death. The batch of blood essence that Jia Yan received is now being kept to prepare for his future promotion to the star level. Because when the Inheritance Senior was alive, he was considered extremely terrifying in the star level, so his blood essence was used. Promotion should be extremely effective. So what level will the blood essence left behind by the evolved beast senior who is more powerful than the inherited senior? Could it be? Suddenly, Jia Yan thought of something, and then his whole body was shocked. Seeing that Jia Yan had some vague understanding, the general showed a strange light. Master Jia Yan has traveled to the outside world, so you must understand that there are more powerful existences above the star level, just like our ancestors. Of course, our great empire is so ignorant now that we no longer know the name of this level. We only know that they are the real strongest in the galaxy, and the blood essence left by our ancestors has a certain chance. Help those who are about to be promoted to star level to reach that level. And even if the effect of this kind of thing needs to be verified, as long as the news gets out. After hearing the general's deeply frightening words, Jia Yan's heart almost skipped a beat. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1032. If word spreads, it is estimated that the existences trapped in the peaks of stars in the entire galaxy will go crazy and come to snatch them. After all, they are suffering from the inability to reach the star level of the galaxy. It is not too much, not too much. Even ordinary astral level, this kind of treasure is definitely needed. Even if it is not used for promotion, it is definitely good for improving strength. Jia Yan helped him finish the rest of his words, and even mentioned the level of galaxy level. Galaxy level? It turns out that the level above the star level is called the galaxy level. The general chewed on Jia Yan's words, and then nodded. I didn't expect that such a great existence is called the galaxy level. No, galaxy level is just a scientific name. Generally, in the outside world, people with this kind of strength are called great beings. Jia Yan explained another question. If the galaxy level is not great, what other level is great? After talking about all these topics, Jia Yan discussed a lot with the general and Huo Yan. When they learned that Jia Yan had been to the outside world and that his combat power was almost forged from the outside world, the general and Huo Yan were relieved. They had some doubts about Jia Yan who suddenly appeared, but this time they saw Jia Yan. He actually killed all the sub-levels that were a huge threat from the outside world, and his doubts were relieved immediately. And Jia Yan also understood why this great general, a venerable man, could stand on an equal footing with Yan Yan, and to a certain extent, even be able to command him. Because this general is the second prince of the great empire and a strong contender for the next throne. Of course, the flames were not commanded by him, but only helped him. After all, this kind of existence that had already stood at the pinnacle of the empire's force could no longer be restricted by secular power. In a certain guest room on the command star, Jia Yan lived in a splendid room. He had no interest in the surrounding splendor. He only had some memories and thoughts about the general's words. As for the invading biochemical starfield forces, the great empire has received news before that they are from a medium-sized force from a biochemical empire. There are at most a few top half-star level beings in the force. In this case, my true body, I have a certain degree of confidence in the match. It depends on whether their so-called top talent is as scary as the top half-star talent in the genius battlefield. Of course, even if it is equally scary, according to the state of my trump cards, it is also scary. There is a certain chance. Jia Yan actually understood that when the great empire was fighting on the defensive line, several high-level officials were captured by the other side. Maybe this force has already understood that there is a great being in the Orion Arm Empire, and now they are not communicating with the outside world. He said that it was just to occupy it for himself. After all, such a medium-sized force is likely to have a large-scale force standing behind it. It would definitely be a great achievement to receive blood essence and give it to a star-level existence of a large-scale force. After all, they didn't feel like they couldn't deal with the people in the Orion arm, they just found it a little troublesome to break through the barrier. As for their method of breaking through the barrier, they use a kind of machinery. It seems that this kind of machinery is very difficult to make. The entire invading force only has 2 such machines in the outside world now, and each time they can send in the size of monsters is also fixed, which means that the opponent is temporarily unable to send half-star beings in, or there are not many smaller half-stars outside the barrier. Jia Yan has always been able to analyze the general situation through a little bit of information. This has always been Jia Yan's ability. After thinking a lot, he figured out one thing. That is, for the time being, this line of defense is okay, but as time goes by, if the opponent's technology breaks through, or the attack becomes more urgent, then it is uncertain. What I'm most worried about is that if the other party captures a few high-level officials of the Kaowo defense line, and some of those high-level officials know about the essence and blood, if the information is very likely to be revealed, the other party will immediately find a smaller semi-star. When a super attack comes in, my clone is absolutely unable to resist. What's more, under greed, no one knows what the other party will do. The real body has to speed up the progress. After thinking so much, Jia Yan felt a sense of crisis in his heart. Jia Yan just wanted the clone to relax for a moment, but he felt that little Edisha started to scream again on the real body's side. "Master, here we are, do we want to start collecting?" It turned out that the Edissa had arrived not far from the small black hole. There are many small black holes in the Genius battlefield, especially near the central star field. I don't know if the battle hundreds of thousands of years ago was the reason for their appearance. In short, Jia Yan found this small black hole easily. This black hole is not big, almost to the extent that nature cannot produce it. It seems to have something to do with the battle hundreds of thousands of years ago. It's scary. Can a real black hole be produced by a battle of that level of strength? After transferring his mind to the Aditha, Jia Yan looked at the scenery outside the ship in surprise, and then felt a sense of shock. You must know that ordinary black holes are different from black holes caused by battles. The small black hole in front of you is only a few dozen kilometers in diameter. The surroundings were pitch black, much smaller than the black holes in nature. The black holes Jia Yan had previously mastered were tens of meters in diameter, so he was very familiar with this artificial black hole. But this does not mean that Jia Yan thinks that he can create such a black hole, with a diameter of dozens of kilometers, and it may even be caused by battle waves. To him, this is like a myth. Okay, don't think too much, go and collect it. Jia Yan drove the Edisha here to collect ions floating outside Haiti. Everything was easy to do, and because of the miniaturization of this small black hole and the surprisingly stable energy, the Edisha did not encounter any danger here. Master, this ion is so stable and pure. It's a good thing. Edisha has a feeling that the black hole made this time will be much better than the last one. As the intelligence brain of the Edisha, she immediately sensed the status of the free ions collected by the ship, and was extremely excited to report the good news to Jia Yan. Huh? This is best. But Edisha, who said I only made an artificial black hole? Half a month later, on a certain uninhabited star, the entire star seemed to be torn apart by a huge force. The earth-shaking sound lasted for a long time. In the interstellar space that was supposed to be silent, the space shook. Fortunately, there was no one around. Otherwise, seeing the scene would definitely be extremely scary. After a while, the entire small star with a diameter of several hundred kilometers disappeared. The area was empty, as if the star had never existed. Not long after, a similar scene appeared on another star. It took a full month before and after. Within the starry sky, a huge battleship with a front and rear distance of tens of kilometers was slowly flying in space. Haha, Master, these two big guys are really beautiful, aren't they? They were made by me, Adisha. They are so beautiful, so beautiful. Adishul went crazy and ran around in the cabin. Jia Yan himself was silently cultivating in the cabin. After a long time, a bright light flashed in his eyes. I didn't expect that collecting them would require so much energy from me. Can I really control them well? Jia Yan looked around suspiciously, but there was nothing there, but anyone with a discerning eye knew that Jia Yan was now focusing his gaze on the subspace. In the subspace, two huge black spheres of more than 100 meters were flying slowly there, connected to Jia Yan's brainwave power by several space stones, and followed in the twisted space behind the Aditha. But now that I am struggling, it does not mean that I will still be struggling after practicing with them. Moreover, my strength will increase in the future. Maybe it won't be long before they can't keep up with my pace. Of course, these are too far-fetched. Finally, my strength has once again reached its peak, and it is much stronger than the last time I raided the Disciple Core. It turns out that the two big black balls in the space behind Jia Yan were the black holes made with the help of the Edissa this time, and their number was not just one, but two. The two black holes were far more terrifying than the last one. Jia Yan only knew that it was extremely difficult to control them, but he did not understand the extent of their power. Anyway, he did not dare to approach the two black holes without the space stone blocking the gravitational fluctuations. That would be courting death. With them, I once again faced a force like the disciples. If nothing else, just throw the black hole outside their main star and ignore it, the strong people on the main star would have to flee, and even suffer countless casualties. Jia Yan thought about the power of this black hole, and his eyes almost blazed with light. And if one of them explodes, or even two of them explode? Thinking about the power of these two terrifying weapons that far exceeded those used to create black holes, if they both exploded at the same time. Jia Yan trembled just thinking about it. I don't know if it can threaten the star level, but I understand that any half-star level existence, whether it is a top-level talent or a most powerful half-star level from the outside world, can't stand it. It will definitely be destroyed by a blast. Damn it, 5 or 10 of them are of no use. Of course, if the opponent also has space talent, then it's hard to say. Jia Yan's production this time can be said to have cost a lot of money. Before he found the location of the black hole, he also went to a nearby forest to memorize a large amount of materials. He even shamelessly borrowed a lot of genius yuan from Zibala, but there was no come to think of it, that guy values money very much, and he only agreed to lend him money after he clearly provided proof of the loan system under the official appraisal of Genius War Zone with Jia Yan. Of course, it was a huge sum of money, and Zibala herself had begged her father, Sisla, to get it. Debts are debts, and with these two man-made black holes, the money will definitely be paid back. With them, I realized that I am now almost invincible among geniuses in the genius battlefield. Even if I can't beat him anymore, I will blow one for him. Who dares to get close to me? Jia Yan thought for a long time, then laughed strangely. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1033. On the other hand, the real body once again made the move to return to Tingtian Pavilion, but this time he was driving the huge Editha. Since then, Jia Yan's strength has reached its peak again, and the rest is a time-consuming improvement in his physical strength. After all, his true body is just that of a venerable. Although he is not an ordinary venerable, without the help of the armor and the black hole, his combat effectiveness is at best comparable to that of a genius at a lower level, and perhaps even a high-level talent. Even the next level genius may not be able to compare. But strength is strength, and Jia Yan's strength cannot be doubted. After the matter with the real body was over, he turned his energy to the clone. Jia Yan has been running in both directions recently, almost feeling like he is going to have a schizophrenia. Fortunately, he is a strong man, and his brainwave power has been cultivated from the beginning. Now the mental burden is still bearable. This is a space vehicle that has been supplemented with super energy from Kaowo's defense line. It's really good. Jia Yan drove his own aircraft. Although it was extremely small, its speed was unparalleled. In less than a month, it returned to the Earth from the defense line. Another batch of supplies was to be sent to the defense line, and Jia Yan had to come back to make arrangements, otherwise the higher UPS on Earth would be fooled. Just when Jia Yan entered the solar system and was not far from the Earth, his expression suddenly changed in the aircraft. After that, Jia Yan entered the subspace, and after the next flash, he appeared in the stratosphere more than 10 kilometers above the blue Earth. This area was originally a relatively calm area in the Earth's atmosphere. But today is different. There have been huge changes in this area. Even from the bottom of the world, there were screams of surprise, and some people even thought that the end of the world was coming. This is also the reason why Jia Yan rushed to Earth quickly. The entire sky was illuminated red by the distorted power. In the glow, a huge battleship that was 2 to 3 kilometers long fell straight into the Earth's atmosphere. If such a behemoth falls, if it really hits the ground, it will definitely be no less than a huge biological extinction. Although it is impossible for everyone on the Earth to die instantly, the future Earth will definitely be uninhabitable. This is a catastrophe. But in the face of this catastrophe, Jia Yan appeared again. Let me go, what kind of driving skills is this? Jia Yan appeared in a flash and came to the huge fallen battleship. Then he held the battleship in his palm with a palm. So heavy. Jia Yan's heart skipped a beat. The huge battleship fell. His clone didn't want to block the impact with such impact, but the current situation was critical and he couldn't block it. Puff 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 puff. Sparks were flying all over the sky, and a palm print appeared directly on the originally hard surface of the battleship's head. Then Jia Yan used the power of his brain waves to rise. Under this huge force, the 2-kilometer-long warship was unexpectedly reversed by him, from falling down to moving upward again. Jia Yan tried his best to suck the milk. He must know that it is more difficult to lift such a huge warship than to kill the creatures in the warship. After all, no one can be a strong man. Fortunately, the clone's composition was pretty good, and even with little brainwave power left, it was able to accomplish this feat. After pushing the falling battleship back into the atmosphere hundreds of kilometers away, Jia Yan was slightly relieved. Just when he performed this feat, a city on the Earth below that was originally thought to be dead saw the battleship above them being smashed down. Everyone was devastated and thought it was dead. They did not expect that the battleship that was originally knocked down actually seemed to fly again, forcibly reducing its speed and flying again. It's Mr. Jia Yan. I captured him with a super clear camera. Haha, it's Lord Jia Yan. I see. Your lord will appear every time our Earth is in crisis. Sure enough, you are the protector of our Earth. Jia Yan no longer had the heart to listen to the carnival of the city residents one after another. What's going on with you? Why are you driving a battleship? Jia Yan looked at the battleship in front of him, almost furious. You must know that he is committed to protecting the Earth, but he spent so much effort, and the people of the Earth themselves drove a battleship into the Earth one day, destroying the Earth. That is definitely the biggest joke in history. That's right, in this battleship is a group of Earthling battleship soldiers. Their configuration is pretty good, with more than 1,000 people and enough people to pilot this battleship. However, they were in a hurry before, and no position was perfect. If Jia Yan hadn't come back, this battleship would really have made a move to self-destruct the Earth, and Jia Yan wouldn't have had a place to cry. More than 1,000 people heard Jia Yan yelling angrily with the power of his brain waves. Everyone could tell that the strongest man with a temper who was rumored to be very good to the people on Earth was really angry. It's right to be angry, but they would be angry too, but what can they do? This battleship is like this as soon as they launch it. Sir, it's like this. We have just received the warship sent by the Great Empire, so we want to try it. With the help of the Great Empire's instructors, we were not too bad at driving it, but we did not expect to get started by ourselves. If it's gone, it won't be able to drive. A commander finally stood up and took his responsibility. They have understood that after making this mistake, no matter what the reason, his career as a soldier is ruined, and even if it is not ruined, he will not dare to command battleships in the future. This mistake is too big. If Master Jia Yan without it, the Earth would have been destroyed by his own hands. He reviewed, so he came out to take responsibility. A battleship from the Great Empire. Jia Yan listened and instantly understood the reason with his mind. The Great Imperial battleship is too advanced for the people on Earth. Even if they don't understand the principles, there are some hurdles they can't overcome and they won't be able to drive it well at all. That's right, the people on Earth couldn't even use the readily available weapons well, which led to the previous scene. This is like asking an old man from the countryside to fly a jet. It would be a miracle if you don't get one of the passengers on board. Therefore, when this battleship is driven, the people on Earth are the same. Even if they are taught, they may encounter operational problems, detection problems, and even the hatch may not be able to be opened. In this case, the speed of the battleship will be reduced. So fast, it is very possible to hit the Earth. Sigh. I don't blame you, but the responsibility for this matter is too great. You can get the punishment yourself after you go back. In the future, we will enact a law that no warship training is allowed near the Earth's ecological circle. There will also be legislation for civilian ships in the future. Standardize the nature of accompanying training, do you understand? Yes, I understand. I will help you convey it. The commander at least knew Jia Yan's character and told him that he wanted him to hand over his orders. In this case, his sins would be alleviated a little, which was helping him. At the moment, the other party just thanked Jia Yan, but did not think about saying anything more to Jia Yan, because he understood that this adult's time was too precious. It's good that no big disaster has occurred. This hidden danger must be eliminated in the future. Jia Yan breathed a sigh of relief, then jumped up and landed towards the Earth. The mission this time is to help the Earth receive the Imperial ships, but I also want to have a good time with my family. Arriving at Jia's house, Jia Yan found that a very unique battleship from the Great Empire had already been launched in this home. On the ship was a servant sent by the Great Empire, driving the warship and about to launch it. The surrounding guards were also extremely vigilant. Okay, my uncle is back, so everything will be fine. On the battleship, a girl of 16 or 17 years old, who looked like a peerless beauty, shouted loudly to the guards who were protecting her. It turns out that this battleship was used by the Geo family to escape in times of crisis, and it was built with a huge amount of money by the Empire. It almost reached the level of a special escape ship for dignitaries. Even compared with the special escape ships used by the royal family of the Empire, it was not much different. The previous scene of the battleship being smashed down caused an instant reaction on the Earth. The Geo family was even more nervous. A group of people were transferred to the battleship in less than a minute. In this case, even if the incoming battleship hits the ground, the people inside the battleship will not be harmed in any way. These guards are not bad, there are actually a few starry sky level ones among them. Jia Yan saw the scene and nodded lightly. Those starry sky level guards are all guards who have recently come from aliens, and they all admire the terrifying existence of Jia Yan, so they also have great respect for his nominal family members. Of course, it is not easy for every bodyguard to become one. You must know that there are many starry sky level people in Orion's arms. There are many people who want to be the Geo family's bodyguards, but if you want to officially become one, you need a lot of investigation. If the guards dare to harm the Geo family, then the civilization that sent the guards will be guilty of a big sin. If Jia Yan kills their civilization and wipes them out, it will be a big disaster. Okay, I brought the battleship back to the universe. You can disarm the security alarm. Jia Yan flew down to the ground, and then used the power of brain waves to say this to the guards around him. Some of the guards are alien-like creatures, and some have the appearance of Earthlings. Of course, they are not too ugly. After all, the Jia family will be afraid of them, so the creatures selected are all close to humans. No matter how bad they are in line with human aesthetics. The guards saw Jia Yan falling to the ground with their own eyes, and then all of their faces showed ecstasy. You must know that as characters sent by their respective civilizations, they have some tasks, more or less, and of course these tasks will not be the attack on Jia's family was related to Jia Yan. For example, asking Jia Yan for help or something, or just establishing a good relationship with Jia Yan, flattering him, etc. But their status was too far behind that of Jia Yan. Now that Jia Yan told them to step down, they didn't dare to say anything, and then they all saluted Jia Yan and stepped back. 83 Chinese website.